What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfire's. Holy smokes. In yesterday's video, when I said that Sony was going to have to learn there were consequences for putting out movies like Madam Web and Morbius, I did not think that less than 24 hours later, Sony would be announced to be ending their Spider-Verse outside of the MCU. That's right, you heard it correctly, and the news is flying all over the place. Sony is officially not developing any more Spider-Verse spin-offs for live-action movies. The last one will be KRAVEN. After it comes out, there is nothing else in development, and we have to talk about what that means for the future of Spider-Man and that IP, because we might already know based on industry insider reports from a month ago. We're breaking down this latest news, where it came from, what was exactly said about what Sony's doing, and what that means for the future of all of the Spider-Man IP. But first, if you could quickly grab the subscribe button. Guys, my analytics indicate there are a lot of you who have been watching daily videos and maybe haven't subscribed yet, which is totally cool, no problem at all, but I would just kindly invite you to do so, because hey, if you're watching the videos daily, you gotta be subbed to enter the PS5 giveaway, and you might as well be. Okay, so this news actually broke this afternoon in an article from The Wrap under the headline, "As KRAVEN hunts for audience, Sony's Marvel Universe takes a final bow for now." Quote, "It's really about the next Spider-Man film," a top talent agency tells The Wrap. As re-reported by avclub.com, they go on to say, quote, "KRAVEN the Hunter is looking pretty dire at the box office for projections at the moment, capping off what might be the final disappointment for Sony's attempt at building an independent Marvel Cinematic Universe. The studio just never managed to get its Spider-Verse off the ground, even with one successful spin-off series in Venom, and saw diminishing returns at the box office with each subsequent release." The Wrap has a new report examining Sony's many flops, Morbius, Madam Web, and now probably KRAVEN, and there's a good reason to believe that the studio is going to drop its Marvel dreams outside of Spider-Man. They continue by saying, quote, "There are a few sources willing to anonymously testify as much, including a top talent agent who says this, quote, 'They've developed what they want to develop for now. It's really about the next Spider-Man film.' A Sony insider seems to agree that the studio is done trying to make its well of B-tier Spider-Man villains into main characters, and will instead focus on Tom Holland's next Spider-Man and the next Spider-Verse animated film and the Spider-Man Noir television series featuring Nick Cage. All of those projects notably feature actual Spider-Men, as opposed to the movies that danced around the idea of Spider-Man but never actually introduced one." The article then goes on to point out that even having a Spidey hero doesn't necessarily mean success, because Silk Spider Society was scrapped at Amazon Prime before it even got off the mat. They continue by saying this, but it's not just the fault of B-tier or C-tier or even D-tier characters involved that Sony Marvel's universe failed. Famously, Marvel was able to take lesser known characters, say like Guardians of the Galaxy, and turn them into major money makers, which again may be a testament to James Gunn, and Marvel has proven that that's not easily replicable, but that's a topic for a different video. Instead, the Wrap piece argues that it's the quote-unquote poorly executed films themselves that are the issue. Take it from another Sony insider who sums it up in one devastating quote: "The biggest issue with the Sony Spider-Man spin-offs seems to be the lack of quality control. The movies just aren't good. Sometimes that lack of quality meets a movie no one asked for, which is the case with Madam Web, and that is a no-win scenario." That actor then goes on to say Sony should start cultivating new IP, but that's kind of a joke in the face of Spider-Man, which may be Marvel's most popular IP, if not their most popular character, one of them, and some of the most popular IP in the entire world. So let's talk about what's absolutely not going to happen, and then what might happen. Number one, what's not going to happen, for any of you who are hoping and praying that this is the death knell for Sony with the Spider-Man rights, you can rest assured they will do everything in their power, spend any amount of money to keep the rights for Spider-Man. They will not sell those back to Marvel. That will not happen unless it absolutely has to. And as long as they keep putting out Spider-Man movies and on time, they're going to keep the rights. It's like Jordan and Nike. Spider-Man is one of the most popular and one of the most lucrative IPs in the entire world. And on top of that, he's a flagship across their entire entertainment division. Even outside of film, look at PS5, the marquee that the Spider-Man game is. They just make way too much money off of those Spider-Man rights to let them go. So anybody hoping and praying that that's about to happen, I would not hold your breath. Also keep in mind, I say this in quite a few videos because people aren't as aware of the numbers, Sony is a much smaller studio, a much smaller production house than a lot of the other studios they're going up against. And this year's top 10 movies were all sequels for the first time in history, which means this is a world of what IP do you own and how much money can you make off of it. And in that world, Sony's only stable horse is Spider-Man. Outside of Spider-Man, they've got others like Ghostbusters, but it just doesn't hold a candle to who and what Spider-Man is. So What I'm trying to say in not so many words is if Sony were to lose Spider-Man, their whole studio actually might be in risk of just completely folding, because Spider-Man is the only thing they've got over there at their movie studio that's making any kind of real money. Now that said, a month ago we heard a rumor that Sony would actually look to integrate what they have as the Spider-Verse's Rogues Gallery without a Spider-Man into the main MCU continuity. And in the same way that they're working on Spider-Man movies as a co-production and in the MCU, that's how they would develop any subsequent films that had to do with their villains. So basically everyone would be in the same continuity and Sony wouldn't be stuck with the Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse that doesn't make any sense and doesn't connect to anything. And ultimately, Sony's dreams of a Spider-Geddon are obviously dead in the water. There's nowhere near the type of hyper interest to get to that kind of film, but it doesn't mean that their other main goal of doing a Sinister Six and a Venom crossover doesn't now and can't now take place if they merge both continuities right after Avengers Secret Wars with what we all assume will be a soft reboot of the MCU landscape, introducing recasts of characters perhaps like Iron Man or Steve Rogers, but for sure characters like T'Challa, introducing a brand new X-Men team, one cohesive multiverse going forward, and in that would be the time for them to introduce a Norman Osborn, maybe a new Vulture, maybe some other characters, all of a sudden have a Sinister Six. I don't think it also precludes maybe some of these characters returning. Who knows? KRAVEN might be a great movie. We won't know because a lot of people won't see it because of how bad Morbius and Madam Web was. That's Sony basically having to pay the bill. People will watch it when it comes out on streaming, and if there is some sort of cult revival, if the film ends up doing well, Aaron Taylor Johnson could end up playing KRAVEN in the future of the MCU. A lot of these characters could, but that would be a very different kind of thing. And as this Sony industry insider says, it's all about quality control. Those movies are super bad. They're super bad. Madam Web is terrible. Morbius is not a good movie. I've tried to watch it more than once. It's just not good. And since no one was really calling for a Morbius or a Madam Web movie in the first place, like that guy said, it's just no win. There's no interest there, and the movies are bad. You put some of these characters in the MCU then, though, and connect them to the greater storyline, and then, well, then they start to actually have stakes. Then the scenes inside those movies, they start to mean something in the context of the MCU. And is it Sony basically grifting off of Marvel's coattails, asking for them to solve all of their Sony problems? Yeah, basically. And if they continue to put out shitty films, Marvel has shown that even Marvel Studios can drop the occasional stinker. And if they keep doing that, even after they've merged with the MCU, that's not going to help them either. The only thing that helps them in from here is putting out quality films. That's it. And then not greenlighting characters that don't make sense without a Spider-Man opposing them. Like, who's really interested in Kraven the Hunter if he's not hunting Spider-Man? He could be anybody. You could rename Aaron Taylor Johnson's character anything. This might as well not even be a Spider-Man story. And I think that's where Sony really got it wrong. It's one thing for Marvel Studios to try to do lesser known franchises, say like Eternals. And as they proved, James Gunn's writing is what really galvanized the Guardians of the Galaxy as top tier popular IP. It wasn't just about the fact that, hey, you can take anything and throw it at fans and they're going to love it, especially if the writing's bad. See Madam Web. But you also had Sydney Sweeney in a Spider-Woman costume and still couldn't get people to come see your film, which is an absolute tragedy at best. I'm not exactly sure what the future looks like from Sony or where they go from here, because it's a lot easier to make a crappy film than it is to make a good one, and some of Marvel's magic has proven to be maybe wearing off a little bit. Some of the shine had come off with some of the projects they did, like Secret Invasion, and if Marvel can't help themselves, they definitely can't be the savior for Sony as well. Fundamentally, things need to change, so call it whatever you want. Call it the Sony Spider-Verse, Sony universe of Marvel characters, call it the MCU, call it whatever you like. If the movies aren't good, and if the characters aren't popular to begin with, that is a recipe for disaster. And hopefully Sony has learned the real lessons here, and not just saying, hey look, we'll join with the MCU and that'll solve all our problems. Here's our next film, Spider-Ham Does Manhattan. Which actually sounds like an amazing film, and if they let me write it, we could turn that into a banger for sure. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below. How do you feel about any and all of this? And are you going to see KRAVEN? I actually was surprised how many of you are choosing to see it opening weekend. I definitely am, but my expectations, of course, are not very high. Let me know all your thoughts down below quickly. Let's get into the giveaway stuff. We are still giving away PS5s here at the channel. Super simple to be entered to win. Just be a subscriber, leave a comment on the video. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will always be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. Best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all with all notifications turned on. And of course, if you like today's video, I'd sincerely appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on all platforms with original music under the name All Fires. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.